G'day all, and welcome back to the Freo Faithful podcast, episode 27, most famously worn by Lachie Neale. But we don't need Lachie Neale to play finals football in the grand old year of 2025, because we've only gone and defeated the Western Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium. Drewz, you were there, mate, and I'm going to assume Sunday was the best day of your life.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I had a pretty large Saturday night that bled into the Sunday morning, and I did not want to go to Marvel. It was the last thing I wanted to do, but the PM side of Sunday was absolutely brilliant. We live to die another day. Nathan Fyfe will play again for the Fremantle Dockers. And yeah, it was the best game I've been to in a long time. Obviously, I don't get to go to as many games now that I don't live in Perth, so that one was just absolutely beautiful.
You were saying to me that was the first game you've been to since the Saints game. I mean, what a contrast. That was about 4 months ago, I'd say now, and I mean, it's sort of a full circle moment if you think about it, because I think it was Patrick on the fan cams who brought up that, you know, we should go back and watch the fan cams from that Saints game earlier this year, because it was so dour. We were calling for the head. Okay, I'm not going to say we, but we were questioning the head of Justin Longmuir. Fans were. Hold up. We were questioning. Never did we call. We questioned. You can go back.
You called. I questioned.
Anyway, let's not take the moral high ground here. That's all by you. But there was certainly some discussions being had about the future of the football club. I think we were 4-6, maybe 3-5, 4-5. It wasn't a good period to be supporting the Fremantle Dockers. But after that, we had a close loss to Collingwood when they were at their best, and we kicked on from there. It was genuinely a full circle moment. How rewarding was it to go to Marvel on Sunday and see the boys put in a performance like they did, given what you saw 4 months ago?
Yeah, it was the most rewarding, and given we haven't been the best Marvel Stadium team. In the lead up to it, that was playing on my mind. The Bulldogs game last year, they ran all over us. St Kilda dominated us earlier in the year, so that was a big part of my psyche heading into the game, and it just felt like in the past, I feel like it's when we're sort of expected to win more often than not that we don't sort of live up to the expectation, and just felt like a game that Freo would drop, given what happened at the back end of last year. And, just games like the Brisbane game last week where it's one of our biggest attendances and we don't show up. There was one against Melbourne in 2023 when I think it was a Friday night game, and we just didn't show up.
22.
So there's occasions that in the past we haven't shown up to. But yeah, this is as big a game as we've had, since the semi-final against Collingwood, pretty much in 2022. So, super rewarding. Just so happy. The whole squad put in a great effort. Guys that we criticised last week, Jai Amos, probably had his best game of the season. Great way to respond. We'll unpack everything. But yeah, super rewarding.
Yeah, to be honest, the game was only as big as it was this week because of how bad the loss was last week. But I think something we did really well, and I think JL said it after the game, was they didn't look into that like that was an absolute disaster. And I can absolutely see where they were coming from. That second quarter against Brisbane last week was literally just skill execution and shots in front of goal that we squandered. And we dominated the lines in that second quarter. And when the scoreboard was looking a little bit unhealthy on our side, they just punished us in the second half and took us to the bakery. I'm not sure if that's a saying. But, the game was big on Sunday as a result of that. So the fact we responded from that and didn't get too down in the dumps about it. JL has been very consistent throughout the year that we review every single game the same, win, loss, or draw. We don't go over the top with celebrating or going down in the dumps. You're all good. Or you move on from every game very, very quickly because there's no point on dwelling on a bad performance or even a really good performance. You're never going to improve in that way. So I think massive credit to the coaching staff for getting us up for that game. Yeah. And how JL went into bat for the team during the week in some of his press conferences. He really instilled belief in the fan base, I feel like, because our backs were against the walls. No one gave us a chance. But I feel like as a fan base, we all sort of had a feeling that we could do something here. Did you have that sort of feeling leading into the game?
Nah, honestly, I thought in the lead up to the game, I said it on the podcast last week, but I'd resigned myself to the loss. In my mind, I was like, the Dogs are so good around the ball, and our midfield recently just hasn't clicked. So I thought, it could just be a long day. And it looked like that in the first quarter. Hayden Young was the only real mid getting his hands on it. So good to have him back. So yeah, in the lead up, like you were saying before the pod that you had a good feeling, and like, yeah, I was watching every piece of media, like, as I always do in relation to Freo in the build up, and like I thought JL looked a bit nervy, like sort of when questioned about like, oh, how are you feeling? Season's on the line, sort of thing. It just like it looks like he's like the hairs on the back of his like neck were always up. He's like, yeah, good. Like we're really excited to play. And I was like, he's not really. I don't know. You could tell that he was a little bit on edge, I think. But on the other side of it, the confidence that he had, even if it was, you know, maybe if there was some internal doubts, like I think you got to give a lot of credit to his character to stand up, be brave, in front of all the media, in front of the league. Because if we had have lost this game, the media attention on JL would be massive. I remember Will Schofield earlier in the year saying it doesn't matter if Freo miss finals. If Freo miss finals, it doesn't matter. JL will be sacked. And like whether or not that's true is a different story. But that's sort of the narrative about it, about JL. So yeah, massive credit to him. My voice doesn't sound too good today, Noah, if you can't tell. Yeah, when Patrick Voss don't argue Jason Johannesson, I was squealing like a little girl. I jumped out of my seat, dapped up a Freo fan 3 rows in front of me. Oh, God. But yeah, no, big ups JL. Yeah, what a win. What a win.
It's funny because Scully and most of sort of the football world changed their narrative about a couple of weeks ago when we were sitting on 15 wins, and you're like, you can't sack a coach after 15 wins, no matter if they make finals or not. It is just impossible to do. So I'm happy all doubt's been removed because we've won 16, we're in the finals, and all the if buts or maybes are gone. You were just discussing what was happening with Patrick Voss there and what you were doing in the crowd. Honestly, on TV, that is the loudest Fremantle crowd I've ever heard away from home. Can you talk to me about that atmosphere before we get into the game? That was... I was in disbelief. There were Freo chants rocking in the first quarter when we were down by 3 goals.
Yeah. The Vic cheer squad, like that block behind the goal, they show up every away game and they just bring it. Like, I remember me and you went to the Richmond game at the MCG last year, and there's one bloke, I don't know his name, but the Vic cheer squad people will. He's just this iconic bloke that stands up after every goal and just gets the fans going. But yeah, so big ups to the Vic cheer squad, the people that show up for every away game, like, yeah, for bringing that passion week in, week out. We kicked to the right of screen in the second and fourth quarter, which is where the cheer squad was. It was almost like they were sucking in the goals. It's like the Stretford end back when United were actually good. So yeah, no, big ups to cheer squad. But the atmosphere as a whole, like, obviously it was pretty much like a final. So the Doggies and the Dockers, like, were riding every bump, every contest, every tackle. And yeah, everything that was happening, there was just a massive pop for. Yeah, there was some questionable Dogs fans around me saying some pretty heinous stuff. Yeah, the umpiring was sort of in our favour for a lot of it, or at least it felt like that at the ground. Or whether it was bad umpiring or not, we were just getting like the rub of the green there. So yeah, the atmosphere was so good. And it felt tense all the way to the end because they just kept coming, the Dogs. They kept kicking goals, and it just felt like all they needed was a quick 1-2, and it could have been one kick in it. I think it got to, 15 points in the end. I feel like there was like 4 minutes left, and it was a 20-point margin. And I just didn't sit comfortably until that final siren went, and I think it was Luke Jackson that kicked the final goal. But once the final siren went, that end of the stadium absolutely popped, and yeah, jubilation, standing ovation for all the Dockers players after as well. What a dub. Head back to Perth, and into September we go.
Yeah, well, look, the umpires can't kick 8 goals in a row for you. So if there are any Bulldogs fans complaining about the umpiring, then I think that's just all your own doing for having Rory Lobb as your fullback. But we'll get into that later.
Yes, I'm gonna write that down.
Let's move back to the first quarter. Because if you've never watched this team before and you're just looking at the little player profiles of each of our players, you think, all right, who's the one that most looks like a Jesus? And you think, all right, it's Alex Pearce. And Alex Pearce did have a Jesus-like performance across the all 4 quarters. But I'm convinced the Messiah in that first quarter, stopping the entire tide from that Bulldogs overload, was Brennan Cox. He saved about 5 goals in that first quarter. It was absolutely incredible to watch. He was covering Naughton. He was covering Darcy. He was clean at ground level. I've never seen the bloke have more than 6 touches in a quarter, and I reckon he did that in the first quarter. It's not really how we want to be playing, but the game's never going to be on your terms 100% of the time. And if Brennan Cox and Alex Pearce don't have the performance they did in the first quarter in particular, the scoreboard could be looking a little bit more shaky, and maybe we don't get that run of goals in the second quarter. How did you see that back line in the first quarter in particular, and Brennan Cox, who I think deserves massive credit?
Yeah, no, it just felt like we were hemmed in, but we've seen this before, like that Carlton game in particular. It just felt like Alex Pearce and Brennan Cox were keeping us in that. Like Brennan Cox, man, he's back to his peak form. He's playing the best footy of his career. He was in the All-Australian squad in 2021, 2022, whenever it was. A bit slow to get going this year, and in the back end of last year he came in after a pretty heavy hamstring tendon injury, but I just have so much confidence when there's a high ball going inside our defensive 50 to a one-on-one that Brennan Cox is just going to float across, take an intercept mark, or get a fist to it. It was so satisfying to watch, man. It's almost just like he's coming over with his like Statue of Liberty stance, like intercepting. I went to the game with Cookson and we were just like in awe of Brennan Cox. And yeah, Alex Pearce, the job that he did on Sam Darcy, kept him scoreless for the first time since round 17 of last year or something like that. First time he's been kept scoreless this year when he's really emerged on the scene. That's our captain doing big things against the second best rated player in the AFL, the alien Sam Darcy, who's probably going to be the best player in the competition for the next 10 years. So massive job by him. Jordan Clark, I think, biasly, but he's got to be in the All-Australian team conversation. He'll obviously be in the squad for the year he's had, but the mopping up he did, his ball use out of the back half all day. He's done it all season. He's had best on-ground performances for us all season. Carl Warner just did his job. Thought Chappie had a pretty solid game. And the other member of our back six is our man, Bailey Banfield, who we spent a bit of time on last week. Now, in that first quarter, right in front of me, he kicks it out on the full. And, it happens, right? I'm not going to judge him for that. But then in the follow-up to that, he hands over 2 players that run past him, just guards grass, does nothing, and it leads to a goal. And I'm just like, man, Bailey Banfield just being a liability again. Luke Ryan's just like looking at him, shaking his head, like, go down the line to a contest. And I was messaging Jamo at the time. I'm like, fuck, here we go. Like Bailey Banfield, GWS 2024 round 2. But he then just does so many courageous things throughout the rest of the game, mops up, he was composed. So other than a couple mistakes early, he played really well, Bailey Banfield. I still don't want him in the side because when he's a liability, when things get hairy, I don't want Bailey Banfield with the ball in his hands or defending. But he had a good game overall, and so did our entire back six.
On principle, you would probably rather a Brandon Walker back there, but Bailey 100%. Banfield, his 2 games that I can in particular now sort of point out this year, that game on the weekend against the Bulldogs and Collingwood at the MCG when he was biting off corridor kicks in the last quarter when we needed him to, and he was very solid defensively when we were under siege for 3 quarters. So he's stepping up in big games, Bailey Banfield. You can't even say he's not a big game player. I think I remember him playing well against Hawthorn at home as well, in front of a packed-out Optus. So he's stepping up in these big games banners, as much as we find him as a liability. And there's no doubting that first quarter was bloody scary to watch from a Fremantle point of view. Geez, he's been stepping up as our boy Banners. So hopefully he continues, and there's no way he's getting dropped after that sort of performance. So yeah, if we can win as many as we can in September, then I think Banners will be in the team. Now, I want to speak about our ball movement because there's been this narrative going around that we completely changed how we move the ball. We didn't. We just didn't. We caught the Bulldogs' defense on the wrong side of the ball time after time because they are, okay, talentless would be a little bit harsh, but they're very inexperienced back. You've got Rory Lobb as your anchor. You don't want Rory Lobb as your anchor, your fullback, your main guy. He's not your Steven Silvani. He's not going to mop up every single ball that goes down there. Then you've got a young James O'Donnell, who's 100% got promise. I think he's a really, really good player at base, but he's very raw. Like, you don't really want him, again, as one of your main anchors in a finals team. And Jed Bustling has played under 10 games of AFL football. They should have got games into Jed Bustling way earlier than they did, because they've ended up having an inexperienced defender, playing less than 10 games, getting subbed out at three-quarter time, because they need to change the makeup of the game. I don't know who went down there as a third tall, but they were definitely undersized. So
I didn't realise they subbed off Buslinger, to be honest. And, like, aside from that, like, the more experienced players in there, Jason Johannesson, Bailey Dale, and Rory Lobb. But, like, Johannesson and Dale, their best attributes as defenders are, like, distributing the ball and running off half back. But in that second quarter, when they were just hemmed in, we played in our front half, they couldn't get it going. Like, and yeah, their defensive liabilities. Before we move on, can we just touch on Rory Lobb, get it over and done with?
Okay, we'll get it over and done with before I finish my point.
No, finish your point. And then we'll
Okay. If you want to, because Rory Lobb deserves about 10 minutes this podcast, so trust me, stick around, you'll enjoy it. So this narrative that we are just not moving, or we're moving the ball in a different way, is nonsense, because Luke Ryan, every single kick out, is still going centre wing. He's still going long ball. He's still going methodical. But these backmen are just getting kept on the wrong side, or getting caught on the wrong side, because they don't know how to defend. And Murphy Reid and Sam Switkowski and our key forwards were just bombing forward and finding ways to get past them. Michael Frederick as well, who had a really good game. And Luke Ryan's kicks to those contests were much higher percentage. I think he deserves credit for that as well, because I've been pretty big this year. I've been critical on Luke Ryan when others haven't been, on some of his kicking from the back line and how it just completely stops our really fluid ball movement. But I think he was a massive part of that on the weekend. And another part of that, so Luke Ryan's kickouts are a main part of how we move it out the back line. But we were asking for this second line-breaking halfback, and we were calling for Cooper Simpson to come into the team. We were crying out for it. But the blokes in our own backyard, Heath Chapman was our second line-breaking running halfback. This is who we drafted. He was a running halfback that used the ball higher up the ground, got it inside 50. I'm not sure how noticeable it was on the ground, but Jordan Clark and Heath Chapman were the two off halfback that were just dashing. I've never seen Chappie have a license like this. He was just running and delivering it up the ground, and I thought he was brilliant at it. So we were calling for Cooper Simpson, but I think it's going to be very hard to get into the team if you've got Heath Chapman playing the role that he did on the weekend. Oh,
yeah. Well, you're not going to drop Chapman or Jordan Clark. It's Banfield. That's the spot. That's up for grabs. It was. I couldn't really tell. Like, I knew we had a solid game. I saw him use the ball well a lot. But no, fair play. We've been a big fan of Heath Chapman for a long time. I feel like he's got another level to go, though. Like you said, this is who we drafted, running halfback. We've seen Jordan Clark really break out this year. I think next year's Heath Chapman's year to just really elevate to that next level. He's pretty much played a full season of footy this year, hasn't he? I don't think he's missed
basically
that much. Has he actually been out of the side?
He was sub round one against Geelong, which was infamous.
Yeah, I don't think he's been out of the side other than that. But speaking about how we move the ball, I'm not sure I love the long kick-ins, to be honest, because in the first half, we were doing that. And I just yelled out as just a footy nuff. I was just like, are we just going to go long down the line all day? Like, yeah, I don't love it, because if you have a team that wants to hunt harder than the Bulldogs wanted to hunt the other day, like, you can just get hemmed in your front half. And then when that doesn't work and you try to get your ball movement going from the back half, it's like, I don't know, you can lose belief in that way of moving the ball. But when it does work and Jackson can, like, if he doesn't mark it, or Darcy, they can just, like, bring it down. And, you know, Murphy Reid, Sam Switkowski, Michael Frederick, who we'll get on to, we're just at the feet, and then just that quick transition. It does look good when it works, but I think when it doesn't work, that's when we get criticised of that slow ball movement, like we did against Brisbane. So, yeah, it looks good on the weekend, but I think, you know, you look at a side like Brisbane who have so many different ways of transitioning the ball. I think we do need another string to our bow, to be honest, because long down the line can be a frustrating and tiring way to play when you can't get your hands to it. So, yeah.
I hear what you're saying. Absolutely. Just to highlight how bad the Bulldogs were defensively, we scored 10 goals, 969 from our defensive half. So that was our highest return since 2010. Mark Harvey was at the helm. Like, this is pre-Ross Line days we're talking about. We were in the anchor. It was Nat 5 second year. This was a long time since we've scored this well from our defensive half. So I think this speaks volumes more on the Bulldogs than us, because I don't think we necessarily changed how we moved a whole lot. I think there were high percentage kicks, definitely, but geez, they overcommitted so much. It wasn't just their backs either. Their midfielders, like Marcus Bontempelli was the best on, he'll get 3 votes, but their other blokes, Liberatore and Richards in particular, overcommit in the contest so much because they know they're good players, and they are, absolutely, don't get me wrong. But they've just got this incredible belief. It's almost like what we've had all year, where we just overcommitted the ball and we've just got nothing on the defensive side. They were the victim of it this week, and we were the beneficiary, which was a really nice change. So, yeah, to get that return from defensive half was massive. Whenever there was a stoppage back there, we just seemed to score from it. You seem pretty keen to get onto our mate Lobby, so go on.
Oh, we can do. I just finished on the point you just made. Like, it was hard to tell from the ground, like, what was going on, but you watch, like, you know, when Freo win, I watch all the footy shows, like, when we lose, I don't want to hear it, but when we win, like a good game, it's like first thing in the morning, first crack, AFL 360 on the couch.
Fireball for
and they broke down like the layers like behind the ball when it was like a stoppage inside the Dogs forward 50, and it's like all of their midfielders were completely committed to the stoppage, and as soon as we got it out, it was just like bailout kick to Voss kicks it forward to whoever. Like, it was just so easy for us to transition the ball. So, like, yeah, that second quarter was probably the best quarter that we've played. Like, it just looked phenomenal. The pressure was immense. But, yeah, they were terribly set up. And I tell you why they were terribly set up. It's because their key defender is Rory fucking Lobb. Now, we only have to talk about this guy when we play the Western Bulldogs. But, man, I remember that, you know, he requested a trade and he stayed for another year and he wanted to leave. He was never a Fremantle Docker that the fans got around, even though he had a good game here or there. But yeah, just to see him just get absolutely bitched by Patrick Voss multiple times, to get outmarked by Josh Tracy every single time. I think he lost like 70% of his duels or something like that. Like, no disrespect to the Doggies. Not that there's any Doggies fans listening, but fuck Rory Lobb. Like, probably my least favourite Docker of all time. And to know that he's not going to play finals this year at the hands of the club that gave him an opportunity to come home. Yeah, cop that. That's all I have to say. I don't really say anything more on him. Yeah.
You just mentioned it. I don't want to go back 3 years, but you just mentioned it. Like, the way he left the club. So, that off-season, well, no, Liam Henry didn't leave. It was Lloyd Meek, Blake Acres, Rory Lobb, and there was one other.
Mundy retired.
Mundy, it was Darcy Tucker. Darcy Tucker was the other one.
And Griff Logue? Did you say Griff Logue?
Griff Logue. I didn't say Griff Logue. So those 5, actually.
Yeah.
So Griff Logue, Darcy Tucker, Lloyd Meek, and Blake Acres. You read it. I know this is very, very basic, but I think it's just, you know, speaks volumes on the bloke you are. Those 4 all chucked out Instagram posts, and there were just these massive sort of thank you for giving me this opportunity. Like Blake Acres, this was his second club. He didn't even need to do this. He was like, thank you, I'll always be a Dockers man. Thank you to Fremantle for everything. Rory Lobbs just chucked out the third club's the charm, lobster emoji. So if this isn't speaking volumes on the bloke he is, on how thankless he was for being at this football club. He had a career best year with us in 2022. We put him in the position to be the anchor of our forward line, and he absolutely just did not give a shit. So, yeah, it was beautiful to see him just get absolutely destroyed by the proper future forwards of our club, and he is rotting what in the AFL side at the moment, but soon to be the VAFA with the Wattle Park Animals. And even then,
we
I'm not
don't
sure
want
if
him.
Get a game down there. Like, I tell you what, you've got a grand final coming up this weekend, and Rory Lobb would still be a question mark for selection. I'm not even sure you'd really.
I'd have Darcy Keegan and Junior over Rory Lobb every single day of the week. 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm not going to pretend I know who those people are, but I'm sure they're great players.
Mate, well, I'll tell you something about Junior. So, yeah, Wattle Park Animals, Grand Final, Div 12 Rezzies. This Sunday, if you're in Melbourne, get down. I think it's at Preston City Oval. Sunday morning, 9:20, like the worst time slot.
I've heard some people aren't very happy about that.
We could have got a massive crowd out to it. Could have made a massive thing of it. It was at a normal time that people could commit to. But who wants to go and watch the footy at 9:20 a.m. on a Sunday. And plus, if it was on a Saturday, we could have had like a big party on the Saturday as well. But it is what it is. There's bigger problems in the world than what time you're going to celebrate winning the flag. But yeah, just speaking on Junior real quick, shout outs to Junior. He never played football before last year, and now he's our Heath Chapman. Like, he's just a lanky, athletic, like, spoiler of the ball. Kicked his first goal this year and like ran off like he'd got a wicket. Like, yeah, what an icon. And yeah, Rory Lobb couldn't shine the shoes of my man Junior.
Yeah, I love the props that he rightfully deserves there. Moving back onto the game, because, geez, that a tangent if I've ever seen one. The second quarter, which you brought up earlier, this is a repeat of the game against the Dogs earlier this year. So if you look at the quarter two, so we scored 7-2 against them early this year at Optus, 7-0 this time at Marvel. So this year, in second quarters against the Bulldogs, Fremantle 14-5-89, Western Bulldogs 2-6-18. We have won second quarters this year by 71 points against the Western Bulldogs. We have torn them to shreds, and I'm not sure what it is, but it was sort of an arm wrestle at the start of both games. I think the Bulldogs were on top early, but we just put the foot on the gas in the second quarter, and it was just... Oh, God, do I have to go back to Rory Lobb? The defensive line is so high. It's like, you may as well sack Bevo and bring in Ange, because the entire back six is lining up at the centre circle, and we're just going over the top, like you said before. Get out, kick to Voss, handball over to Murphy, Shepherd from Switta, goal. Easy as you like. Everyone got a lick of the ice cream, and that second quarter rampage was so much fun. I think I said on the stream that this might be the most fun I've ever had watching this football club. Was that the most fun you've ever had watching this football club? Because we looked untouchable, mate.
Yeah, it was just so satisfying to watch. Just like goal. Murphy Reid clinic, bang. Rory Lobb getting mugged off, bang. Just back to Rory Lobb. Patrick Voss, just don't arguing him, running past him, and just kicking it into an open goal. Like that and the Johannisen one. Oh, just inject that in. Oh man, Patrick Voss, what a man. But yeah, I think I said it last week about Sam Switkowski. Like our game being solid is so reliant on the form of Sam Switkowski and how he plays. And just our half forwards in general. I think Murphy Reid's been really probably our most consistent out of the lot of them, to be honest, with the ball in hand and the impact that he's delivering. Got another handful of goal assists. Just, yeah, he was so noticeably like one of the best players on ground for me on Sunday. And Michael Frederick pushing up into like the centre balance. I'm pretty sure he got a few clearances just like when the ball was in dispute. Obviously, it was a tough game around the stoppages. I think we had the better of it in the centre clearances, but they were sort of better stoppages around the ground type thing. But yeah, I thought Frederick played a really good game. Not just, to get an important goal and to provide the run and the great leap that he has, but yeah, to help the midfielders out. I've never really seen him impact a game like that before. I'm sure there probably has been where he has done that, but yeah, really stood out to me on Sunday. And where else do I want to go with that? Like we've transitioned the ball fast for a while now. Like if we can break that first line, like Switta, Murphy Reid's actually faster than people give him credit for. He doesn't look that quick, but that goal that he kicked when he it was at the crumb, handball over the top to Switta, and then just burnt his man back to goal. Like that's a genuine 90-meter sprint, and then to finish it, we spoke about the skill level of Murphy Reid before, but there's some physical attributes coming out, and yeah, maybe his combine testing wasn't that good for whatever reason, but that man ran 90 meters and kicked a goal to send us into finals, so that's pretty handy. Other than the higher half forwards, Jai Amos had the best game of his career, I thought. That second quarter in particular. And I don't know why, it wasn't like he was massively making an impact up and down the ground, but his forward craft was just working. I think it's that speed of ball movement. We criticise Jai Amos a lot. And when we move the ball fast, we can transition the ball fast, and we can leave the forward line open for him. He just puts himself in the right spot. And him, Tracy, and Voss all have such a good connection with each other that, yeah, when we do get the ball, move it quick and have space inside 50, that's when Jai Amos's best game comes out. That dribbler from the pocket, I had the perfect angle off. I knew as soon as he kicked that was going in. So yeah, credit where credit's due for Jai. We just need to see it more often, and yeah, it probably is just a result of the ball movement. Operating better for him rather than that slow kick long to a pack type ball movement.
I'm happy you gave props to Freddie at the start there, because if that wasn't the most Michael Frederick suited game you've ever seen with the Tottenham defensive line, he was just getting out the back and just burning every single Bulldog player on the park. And his decision making was criticised rightfully against Brisbane last week, but I think it was stage fright, and he's learnt from it very quickly. I think every single forward's learnt from a stage fright last week. Michael Frederick was one of the main guys, and geez, he was so smart on the weekend. Some of his ball usage inside 50, he knew when to pull the trigger at goal, which last week he was sometimes going, oh, do I handball it, do I kick it, do I go for goal, and just butchering it, like the entire team did. But I think Michael Frederick in particular had a massive improvement this week, and that's the Freddie that's going to win your finals, because if you look at the last final we won, he was the live wire in the forward line, him and Michael Walters, that just got us over the line with the manic tackling. The forward craft was on display from not quarter one, but from quarter 2 to quarter 4. It was, small forwards win your finals, but live wires win your finals. And we've paid Shea Bolton a lot of money, and we gave up a lot of draft capital for him. And this is exactly why, because we've been pissed off at this bloke for about 7 or 8 weeks. But here comes the biggest game of the home and away season, and this is where the big players shine. Shea Bolton, talk to me about him.
Well, he kicked 2 important goals, and yeah, he was evasive in the midfield. But yeah, maybe you saw it better on TV, because I thought out of our small to medium sized forwards, I thought they stood out more to me at the ground. So I'm going to throw that one back to you. What did you see?
Oh, I mean, you just you just mentioned his evasiveness in the midfield. It was so good. And that was the first time we've seen Hayden Young and Shea Bolton both click in the same midfield. And it was a bloody delight to see. I think we spoke about it earlier this year. We may have discussed Nathan O'Driscoll in there as well when he was playing really well through the middle. But we just can't wait to see these just explosive guys out of the middle, playing at their peak at the exact same time. And it helped we were playing against the Bulldogs team that weren't really interested in defending, and they could just burst forward and do whatever they wanted. Shea Bolton's decision making, and I think one thing that he improved this week was he was a target inside 50, which he isn't usually, but he was nearly playing as a medium forward this week. I'm not really sure how tall he is, but it's certainly not a role he's ever played at Richmond or Fremantle. So yeah, I think he provided us just another option inside 50, and he had 19% CBAs last week, 46 this week. So we definitely gave him the keys a lot more through the midfield, and it worked wonders. So yeah, I was a massive fan of Shea's game.
You need that speed out of the midfield, don't you? Like Brayshaw, he's explosive and powerful, but he's not fast. Sarong's agile. That Brayshaw and Sarong are pretty agile, but none of them are as evasive as Shea is. Brayshaw and Sarong, they're great tackle. They can bust out of a tackle just through good technique and a bit of jiu-jitsu training from Hab Heskey at Mac 1, if you know, you know. But, Bolton just provides something completely different in there that we don't have. I'm going to tell you now, Noah, my favourite midfield mix of the day. I actually want you to try and guess what my favourite centre bounce.
Mix of the day. Well, I'm stuck at the Ruckman, because I mean, Sean Darcy deserves so much. I saw just quickly, I know you're trying to get onto a point here, but there was a list of AFL Ruckman this season and how well they've played. Sean Darcy was awfully low. He was below these Sam Draper sorts and Jordan Sweet sorts. Sean Darcy is having a ridiculous season. He's back.
Was that zero hanger?
Second half. It was, yeah. I didn't want to name account names, but I wasn't very happy about it. Anyway, I'm going to say, I love Sean Darcy's tap work. I'm going to say Sean Darcy because Dog is playing very well held of the ball. Is that correct?
Yeah, Darcy was good in the ruck all day. And, there's been times we've played the Dogs that Tim English has got the better of him, sort of burning him forward. I think, with our centre clearances were sort of working all day, so we didn't have to run as hard defensively. But, Sean Darcy, great game. And, I sort of thought when the game was in the balance, I wanted to see Dogga in there just for his follow-up and that type of thing. But Dogga just, kicked a goal late, and it's oh, well, there you go. Sean Darcy probably wouldn't have been in the right position to kick the goal late. But, Sean Darcy. But in terms of the inside mids, my favourite mix when we were just bursting out of the centre.
Can I try, I guess? I was going to guess. So, Sean Darcy the ruck, and then I'm going to go with, Caleb Strong's got to be in there because I think he was a clear beast. Oh, you didn't really give the props to Shea Bolton that I did. I'm going to say he's not in there. I'm going to go Hayden Young.
Yep.
And Neil Erasmus, I reckon.
Yep.
He was very good.
That's it.
Yeah.
When those three were in the midfield together, like, it felt so balanced. And it's like, obviously, on grand final day, the first three in the midfield is always going to be Brayshaw, Sarong, and Young. But young Neil has come of age. That goal that he kicked was beautiful. Breaks through a tackle, little check side. I don't know if there's any in-betweener fans watching at home, but I just let out the biggest, "Oh, Neil," as that went through. He's going to get some big offers from other clubs, Neil. I was having this debate with Jesse on the live stream. He was saying that, like, Campbell Chester and Neil Erasmus will have, like, a similar, like, spec career. And I'm like, just let my man Neil cook.
That is the shittest take I've ever heard. Campbell Chester could not tie Neil Erasmus's boots. I don't want to give disrespect for a fellow WA football. No, he's not from WA. He's Victorian. I don't want to give any respect to him then. I'm sorry, but Campbell Chester, he's had a rough career. He's had a few injuries, and I do feel bad for the bloke. But Neil Erasmus has dominated Waffle for 3 years, and he's finally been given a good run in the team. And Neil Erasmus will be triple the player that Campbell Chester is. I hate to say it.
You can tell how much Erasmus is sort of, like, built from playing with, like, Brayshaw as well. Like, I thought his around the ground work was really good. He intercepted well. He tackled well. And it was just good to see him get a goal because we drafted him as, like, a goal-scoring midfielder. But no, he has had some really strong games in the last couple months, Neil Erasmus. There was times earlier in the season where we're like, we don't really know what he is. He's just such a handy sort of fourth or fifth midfielder to have. Big props to him. We've got to give him a sizable contract. Nothing crazy, but, I had a bit of an inside scoop on the O'Driscoll stuff last year. And O'Driscoll got offered peanuts by the club. He had massive offers from Port Adelaide and a couple clubs in Victoria. And he just elected to stay out of love for, grew up a Freo fan, that type of thing. Erasmus is going to get big offers again, and I would hate for Erasmus to leave now just as he's coming good and then go on to be a really good player. I don't think he will. I think he wants to stay in Perth and, prove himself. But I think that, the last little bit, give him a 3 to 4 year contract, couple 100,000 squid a year, and let's just watch how he evolves because all that hard work that he's put in, he's spent a lot of time out of the side, like you said, dominating in the waffle. He's finally had a good run of games and he's finally looking like a genuine AFL player.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in terms of the contract stuff, I'd compare him a little bit to Liam Henry, and I think they're completely on the opposite ends of the scale, but I think their decision is very similar that they have to make. Liam Henry, obviously also from Perth, came through our NGA. You could just sort of tell his body language in the last couple of years at the club was he didn't really want to work for his place. He didn't really want to be there. And the first chance he got to get a new contract with bigger money, he went and took it. And now, I'm not going to say that was the right or wrong decision. Liam Henry did shush us this year and lost a game, but that's all right. That's aside from the point. You can do whatever you want in that scenario.
Sorry to cut you off before you go. Can you remember how good Liam Henry was in his last year for us? Like that back end of that season.
Second half of the year, but I never had confidence he'd stay, and I still thought his body language was a little bit iffy.
Yeah. And he was always going to leave. And I think he just wanted to change. Like, I say that because I bumped into him at a nightclub once. I was like, "Why'd you leave Freo?" And he was like, "Oh, I just wanted to change, needed a fresh start." And I was like, "Yeah, fair enough."
That is the most just get away from me answer I've ever heard. And so you really didn't get a scoop there if that's what you thought you were going with. That is. Just stay away from him, mate. You're harassing me.
I probably should. I reckon I've seen Liam Henry at nightclubs more than any other AFL player, like going out and about. I reckon I've seen Liam Henry like 4 times, but anyway, that's neither here nor there.
I saw Lockie Schultz in the airport last year. I got the exact same response when I asked why he left Freo. So,
did you go up and say, "Why'd you leave, Shooter?"
Yeah, no, I didn't sound like that, mate. I wasn't 12 years old last year, but I did go up to him and we walked past each other, and I'm like, "Oh, Shooter, I love you, mate. Why'd you leave?"
a genuine. So same night, I've alluded to this night a few times across True Footy and stuff. But yeah, I was at a nightclub this time last year, end of last year, like home and away season, and there was a few like ex-Freo boys there. So like, I was speaking to Lloyd Meek. He was the nicest bloke ever. Like, you know, just some little footy nuff goes up to him. He's like, Lloyd, mate, I'm a Freo fan. How gutted were you to see the Dockers miss out on finals? He's like, oh, I was rooting for him, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, like, had a good job with him. But Griffin Logue, he didn't want a bar of me, but I was like, Griff, we loved you. The young buck. Why did you leave Freo? And he's like, mate, they didn't want me. They didn't want me. I was like, fuck, that's brutal.
So, I mean, I'm not sure what the club thought, but we certainly didn't really. Were we gutted when he left at the time? I can't even remember.
Yeah, I was like, oh, there goes the voice. I was gutted because he was such a like cult hero, but he wasn't best 22, was he?
Nah, he was playing full pocket in that semi-final.
And now he's underwhelming for North Melbourne, so. Yeah. Anyway, where were we?
I've got no idea, to be honest. I also find it quite ironic that your voice is breaking every 5 seconds and you're trying to chuck on the high voice from 12-year-old me last year. Like, pull your head in and maybe listen to yourself, I would have thought. I actually don't know where we were before this. We were speaking about the midfield.
We're talking about Erasmus.
I've got 2 questions to ask you. First and foremost, I don't want to get into the hierarchy at the club, but has he overtaken Matt Johnson in the pecking order? And number two, will he sign the contract?
I reckon he will sign like a 3-year deal. Mm-hmm. And has he overtaken Johnson? I just think you know exactly what you're going to get with Johnson, I feel like, for the rest of his career. I feel like he'll just get more consistent at what he does, like just being a big-bodied mid, tackling. That's, really all he does for me. Like, puts his head over it. He's tough. I feel like Erasmus will develop a bit of X factor about him. He's always been a good kick inside 50. And like we've seen with the evolution of Hayden Young and Caleb Sarong, their ability to add a scoreboard impact in the last couple years, which they were criticised for a few years ago. Like, once Erasmus develops that and gets his sort of 25 touches a game, like, he's just going to slot into that midfield so nicely. Like, it's not going to be long before, Fife's going to retire. That opens up a spot for, Johnson to slot back in. But, like, Jager O'Meara's not going to be around forever. So, like, there's going to be games for him to play for a long time. Murphy Reed's going to come into that mix as well. So, yeah, hope that answered your question.
I don't want Murphy Reed in the midfield. Just a little bit of a side point. He's a forward. He's a half forward. I don't care. Like, yes, he might get minutes, but if he becomes a full-blown midfielder, I think we're wasting his best talent. Because in front of goal, we've got something special there, mate. I'm not sure what you think.
Yeah, but he can operate in that Hayden Young, Shea Bolton rotation.
Yeah,
so it's like he doesn't have to be like a full-time on-ball midfielder. And we love what he brings between like the stoppage or the contest and our deep forwards. But like, different comparison, but Nick Dacos started his career at half-back and it was like, wow, look at this guy. Like, look how he moves out of half-back and gets the ball flowing, and then you move him up the ground into the on-ball and, becomes one of the best contested players. I was at the game with Cookson and we're like, who do we compare Murphy Reed to? And I said Steele Sidebottom, and Murphy Reed said that in his draft year that he loves watching Steele Sidebottom play, but he's got a bit of toughness about him, like a bit of Toby Green, just like forward half craft. And Toby Green runs through the middle every so often. So, I think you're going to have to see Murphy Reed play some midfield minutes at some point in his career if you want to see the full evolution of the player. I think you have to.
And our propaganda can finally end on Thursday when he is finally awarded the Rising Star. It's been a long road trying to get him over the line, but I think you can nearly lock it in now. I think he's $1.05. I think if you got on when he was $60 at the start of the year, you're going to be a very, very happy person because he is by far the favourite. Your boy Dan Curtin has had an unbelievable year, but I think if you look at Murphy Reed's, round 1 all the way to round 24, he's just been super consistent. Dan Curtin really bursting onto the scene in the second half of the year, and Levi Ashcroft, like, he's in a good team, but I think he's playing a role a lot of players could play in a good team. I don't want to take away any credit from him. I think he's a great talent, but I think Murphy Reed's by far the best first-year player or best rookie.
Yeah. Levi Ashcroft has slotted in beautifully to the most sound system in the AFL and hasn't looked like out of place at all. Dan Curtin has, sort of just become a man this year, like takes big intercept grabs. He, displayed a great running ability. I obviously missed like a big chunk of the second half of the year, but the impact that Murphy Reid has had on us winning games, goal assists, kicking goals, that game in Geelong where we were dead and buried and we ended up dead and buried, but he made the most dead game of all time just flip on its head, and you thought, a bit of a fluke, and he's just continued to deliver it, putting up numbers that only Cyril Rioli has put up in his first year. And, talk about like the GOAT debate or whatever. Obviously, I'm not saying Cyril Rioli's the GOAT, but in that
Murphy Reid's the GOAT.
Yeah, Murphy Reid's the GOAT. That's it. Cyril Rioli is like one of the most iconic small forwards the game has ever seen. And for Murphy Reid to be in that same conversation in his first year, like, it's incredible. He's won games for us. That Bulldogs game at the start of the year, he kicked the winning goal. He's setting up players left, right, and centre. Like, he's our best ball user in the front half in his first year. So he's going to win the Rising Star. Man, we've had some Rising Stars over the years, haven't we? Yeah. Reece Palmer, Caleb Sarong, Paul Hazelby.
Drewz, one thing that caught my eye in terms of the ruck department was, we know Luke Jackson and Sean Darcy, their ruck or their hit-out work and what they can do forward of the ball is, everyone knows their ability there, but what they did in terms of sort of defending one of the Bulldogs' main threats, which is Tim English and Sam Darcy, whoever's in the ruck, just bombing forward and creating an extra tool in an already dangerous forward line. I thought they did so well to not allow any separation with them and English and Darcy. And I think they deserve as much credit, maybe a little bit less, but nearly as much credit as Alex Pearce does for holding Sam Darcy goalless and limiting the impact of a very informed Tim English, who still had a good game, mind you, but on the scoreboard, he didn't really impact. What did you make of those two?
Yeah, well, I said it before, but like, Sean Darcy's been exposed by Tim English before running forward, so that was obviously a focus early in the game. And he has displayed such good endurance, ruck battle after ruck battle all day, Sean Darcy. I'm not sure what the split was percentage-wise of, ruck attendances, but Luke Jackson did so well in the front half of the ground as well. Obviously a tough week for him, and he kicked, 2 or 3 goals. So, great game from the both of them. Whether or not I think it's going to work all the way through to the promised land, I'm not sure. I think our record with both of them in the side probably says that, yes, like it's good enough to, make us contend. But yeah, I've just seen Luke Jackson go absolutely ballistic in the ruck when he's the solo ruck. So yeah, I don't know where I sit with whether I'm completely sold on the dual ruck still. I know you're a big fan of it though.
Yeah, well, I remember a couple games this year, in particular the Giants and the Port and even the Essendon game, where Jackson did go absolutely ballistic, and we were thinking, how on earth is Sean Darcy ever going to fit back into this team? But I think in the second half of the year, Sean Darcy's playing as well as he has since 2022. He's having an unbelievable year and a really underrated year in the grand scheme of things, to be honest. I know we did our mid-season player ratings earlier this year, or our mid-season player grades, and I can't really remember where I had Sean Darcy, but I'd honestly have him at probably a B+ or an A- at this point in time. I've loved his year so much and what he's brought. Very accurate set shot in front of goal. He's starting to find a little bit of separation with the opposition ruckman whenever he goes forward when we need him to. He's kicked some big goals this year as well, and his tap work is back to his absolute best. So I'm a believer that those two will take us to the promised land. But like it's hard to say when, as you mentioned, Luke Jackson has gone ballistic in some games, and you think this guy could be the greatest of all time. So, yep. Yeah, I think it works in different games. Like, I still look back, an example I use so much is the Hawthorn game last year, where Lloyd Meek toyed Luke Jackson around like a little doll. Because Lloyd Meek's a big body, and I think Luke Jackson just tends to struggle against big bodies. I think he's improved this year, but I still think Sean Darcy provides a better matchup in those types of games.
Yeah, he just needs to continue to evolve with his front half craft. Luke Jackson, like obviously he can come across and take contested marks, and he's pretty slick with his hands. But we need to see Sean Darcy continue to improve, which he has done all year, stay healthy, and yeah, just really get an understanding of how this dynamic works. I think there's still a lot that needs to evolve between the two. Like, they haven't really played that much footy together still. So yeah, let's see how it evolves in time. My favourite part of our performance on the weekend, Noah, was the third quarter because the Dogs came out pretty hot in that second half, and we just did so well to buffer their momentum. Like, I feel like there would have been times last year where a team got a run on and we just couldn't stop it, but we just kept answering back. Every time they'd, kick one, we'd sort of get one back. We just did well to navigate through that second half after doing all the hard work in the second quarter to get on top. So I was super stoked with that as well.
I think that's a great point. Melbourne game I look back to a lot of games this year in comparison to what we're doing now. And I look in glee for the most part, to be honest, because that Melbourne game earlier this year, we'd kick a goal and we could not win a clearance to save our life following kicking that goal. Where I felt like we completely flipped the script. Whenever the Bulldogs kicked a goal, they could not win a clearance to save their life. And we were getting ascendancy out of the middle whenever they scored, for the most part, and in particular in that third quarter. So I was so proud about how that's not something we've done all year. That's not something we've done for a long time. And I think that was a massive mental test to say, hey, this game's not over. Yes, you're up by 40 points, but you've still got to attack this ball like your life depends on it every single time. And I think however the coaches set our mids up was fantastic, and however the players executed it was even better. And I think a massive part of that was something we flirted with on last podcast, and that was booting Luke Jackson out in the midfield because he's not a rover. Like, yes, we like him around the ball, but he was just getting burnt off by the opposition's best midfielder. And I'm happy the coaches adjusted and saw it as well, because if Marcus Bontempelli started lining up next to Luke Jackson on the weekend, I fear Marcus Bontempelli would have done double the damage. I reckon he would have polled 6 votes, if I'm being brutally honest. He would have had some sort of game. So the fact Luke Jackson didn't attend a single centre bounce as a rover on the weekend, I think gave us so much more speed through there. It helped having Hayden Young back in the team. And I think guys like Jager Amira and Corey Wagner all played their role really well through there. And we'll get on to Wags a bit later. But I think, I was so happy that we sort of adjusted that. And we love Dogga in the ruck and we love Dogga forward to centre. I think we put him in a good position to succeed on the weekend.
We always have that option there, right? Like, we can always chuck Dogga on ball when we need. Like, the Carlton game, I thought he matched up well with Cripps and Hewitt because they're not as fast. Like, for whatever reason as well, it worked in the Gold Coast game really well. So we have the option that's there. We have flexibility in that ruck role. So, options there.
I'll tell you what, if we end up playing Hawthorn in the first week of finals, we're playing either Hawthorn or Gold Coast. If we play Hawthorn, Luke Jackson as a rover is something we can really look at because they're probably the slowest midfielder of any team in the 8. Like, yes, they're a good football team, but that midfield is a point where they sometimes can't get ascendancy out of. So I think that's the only... If we end up playing Gold Coast, don't even think about it.
Well, it worked well against Gold Coast. That's what I was saying. Last time we played them at Metricon.
That was a wet game. I think that's such an anomaly.
That's true.
I think the wet games, it does work well when he's in the middle. But yeah, I'm expecting it'll be dry first week. Just quickly, we haven't spoken about our vice captain. We'll quickly brush on him, but Caleb Strong's clearance work, it's been very accurate as of late, is what I've realised. Like, you can look at a Tim Taranto and he'll win a clearance and he'll dump it forward and it'll go to the opposition. But I'm not sure whether it's just Caleb Sarong, or it's definitely not just Caleb Sarong, but it's him and the synergy he's got with our key forwards and our higher half forwards that is so good at the moment. Sarong will slap it on the boot and he knows exactly where he's putting it, and all the forwards know exactly where he's putting it. I reckon Seb is putting together a brilliant patch of form right before the All-Australian team's about to be announced.
Yeah, there was a little bit of fear today that he might have copped a suspension for that bump that no one saw.
I was not worried.
Yeah. Oh, you just never know. But yeah, just being at the game and just watching how much of a leader he is on the field, like, just felt so comfortable every time that Sarong was near the ball. And we haven't really touched on Hayden Young, but just to have him back, breaking out of stoppages with confidence in his body is important. But like the damage that he was doing with that left foot, like, we've missed that so much. It's such a big part of what makes us good. So, like, you look at that premiership window, like points for, I think it'd be so much higher if we just had Hayden Young in the team consistently, because he just makes stuff happen when he bursts out of a stoppage, or Sarong gets it out to him, goes on that left foot. It's just it's a money maker, that left foot. So good to have him back. He probably would have been pretty nervous playing, I reckon, like going back to Marvel where he's had a few injury setbacks, but that St Kilda game, like, would have been a bit of PTSD, I reckon, for sure. But it didn't look like he really missed a beat.
Nah, absolutely, and I'm gonna say it right here. I'm not gonna say we're gonna win the flag because that would be very premature.
Why
But
not?
why not?
Say
Exactly.
it.
When if Hayden Young is in the team for the rest of the year, we can do anything. Not saying the P word, not saying the F word. There's a lot of words that get thrown around, but we can do anything if Hayden Young is in this team.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I
Okay, that's a yes.
Look, I'm not going to say we're not going to win the flag or the premiership, but I do think there's a few teams in line that are very well positioned to do so. That's all I'll say.
Neither am I. I think there are teams far better positioned. I think Brisbane and Adelaide and even Collingwood. I think there are teams.
Nah, I think we're more likely to win the flag than Collingwood are. I would, my power rankings right now would be Brisbane and Geelong. I can't split. Then the Crows, and then I'd probably have us, to be honest. I hold no fear against any team in the top 8 except for Brisbane. Like, even if we had to go to Adelaide in the second week of finals or however it's going to pan out, like, I reckon our midfield would get on top, and I think our styles are pretty similar. Like, they go long to contest for Dilthorpe and Fogarty and Tex to bring it to ground for Rankin, who's not playing anymore. Keys, probably forgetting the small forward in there, but yeah, I think our midfield, pound for pound, works better. And yeah, I don't know how they would stop the dual rucks. I think our defence has shown that we can stack up against the best forward lines in the competition, and we defended really well against them when we played them earlier in the season. So I hold no fear against Adelaide. Geelong at the MCG, I think we play pretty good on the MCG, and we've got a good record against all the top 8 sides. So yeah, Brisbane terrify me, but other than that, I think we're going to take a lot of belief into whoever we face.
Now, we've spoken about the overabundance of positives on the weekend, but let's wrap it up with a negative. The ultimate team man, I think he might win the best clubman. I mean, I'm not around the club, so I wouldn't know, but he just seems like a bloke that's very well loved, him or Vossy or one of those types. But Corey Wagner, he's played such a selfless role throughout the year. He's done a lot of tagging roles, but he's also played halfback, played wing. He was described as a utility in the injury report, which I think is a beautiful way to describe him. He's out for the season, I reckon, because a torn pec is a very hard injury to play with. That was the initial prognosis, the sort of speculation. They said he'll miss at least the first final. Now, you've got a degree in these sorts of things. I don't. But a torn pectoral muscle is not something you can play with for the next 4 weeks, I would have thought.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't be able to tackle, or yeah, it'd be pretty hard to put your hands above your head, I'd expect. But is it just a Matt Johnson fix? I think he's ready to go. Does he just come in? Is it a Nathan O'Driscoll?
You look at Noddy on the weekend in the waffle, 25-3. I think he's put his hand straight back up. If there's any way to respond to an axing, I think it's exactly what Nathan O'Driscoll's just done. Sorry,
is he ready for the big dance? Is he ready for a big game?
Well, he was huge in our last final series. He was kicking him from the pocket against the Bulldogs. So
yeah, that's true. That's very true. There was Nathan O'Driscoll trance ringing around up the stadium that night.
So Cooper Simpson had 13 touches. He won't get a look in. He's had a quiet couple of weeks. Isaiah Dudley had 2 disposals. He's not getting a look in for the rest of the season, I would have thought.
Johnson is always 20. Up there.
Exactly. So Matt Johnson and Nathan O'Driscoll are probably the 2 you're looking at. Jeremy Sharp put together a few really good weeks. He's hitting the scoreboard and getting the ball. So they're probably the 3 you're looking at. Sharp, Johnson, O'Driscoll. You can probably rule out Sharp because he hasn't been picked for a while now. My bets are on Nathan O'Driscoll, but if Matt Johnson does come back in, it's not the end of the world because we didn't play a genuine winger on the weekend, and Raz and John put in some good performances out wide. So just bringing in an extra midfielder, wouldn't be the end of the world.
Because I think O'Driscoll, I say he's a better winger, but he hasn't been in that great a form. But I would like to see him play that Erasmus and Johnson role, that like you play a bit of wing, but you play on ball as well. Because we like Noddy in the middle. So if he does come back in, I want to see him attend some centre bounces.
Yeah, I'm the exact same, mate. But good teams have deep midfield rotations. Adelaide have like 10 blokes run through there, and they're not all superstars, but I think we've got better midfield depth than a lot of the top teams, which isn't necessarily going to take you all the way, but I think if we can just get numbers going through there, if we can get 8 or 9 guys consistently through there, and Nathan O'Driscoll's a very different mould to what we've got going through. I think that provides great value to the team. Now, we're filming this on a Monday night, but on Thursday night is when the AFL Awards are announced. The All-Australian, the Rising Star, I've already discussed Bruce. The squad comes out tomorrow night. Might already be out by the time this pod's out, but I'm anticipating Jordan Clark, Caleb Serong, Andy Brayshaw, and Luke Jackson to all be in the squad. How many make the final cut?
I reckon Jordan Clark has got to be in there. Has Serong had as good of a year as he did last year, do you reckon?
Well, he's been tagged out of games, but you could say the same for basically every mid that's going to be picked. So
Yeah.
I think Serong's clearance work's been exceptional, and I'd nearly say he's in over Jordan Clark.
Whoa. I reckon Jordan Clark's
Clark-
had a more consistent year for us across the board, but
How many
it's gonna be
halfbacks
tough.
can you pick, realistically?
Yeah, Ash, Wanganeen, Millerer.
Well, it's Zorko and Naz for me.
Yeah.
Zorko's had some sort of year again.
Yeah, maybe a bench spot. I feel like they like putting in like a bit of an edgy outside sort of, like a WA Jordan Clark. I reckon that checks out. Serong could. He was a starting midfielder last year, so he might go on the bench. But I think I would probably say just Jordan Clark and Serong gets stiffed. But yeah, I don't know.
I'd go the other way.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, it's gonna be them two. At least one of them, surely.
Yeah, Brayshaw won't get a look in, and Doggers probably are not going to get in, considering Sean Darcy's been the main ruck for the second half of the year. If there was anywhere Dogga was ever going to go, it was always going to be the interchange, because it's hard to put him in anywhere on the field, given he plays every position. So, I don't think Dogga will make it. I think Serong and Clark are the main two to look out for on Thursday night, and hopefully Caleb can pick up his second blazer, and Jordan Clark getting his first would be amazing, considering he's a fringe player at Geelong, traded to us for the 2022 season. He's just become a mainstay and one of the superstars of the competition, so it'd be great to see Geordie get that recognition, but he will certainly be in the squad at a minimum.
Yeah, 100%. We'll unpack and preview the game on the next pod, because we don't know who we're playing yet, given that Gold Coast and Essendon still have to play, but it's looking like... Have we guaranteed a home? We have guaranteed a home elimination final, haven't we?
Yep, so we'll play a home elimination final. It's actually 50-50 at this rate. People are saying like, oh yeah, we're playing Gold Coast, lock it away. But Gold Coast have to win by 32 points against Essendon for us to play them. Considering they've got such a high percentage, and then they make up 0.8 over Hawthorn. So if they win by under 32, if they win by 31 or less, we'll play Hawthorn. If Gold Coast win by 32 or more, we'll play Gold Coast. Essendon are not winning. We're not giving them a chance.
Yeah. No, it's not happening. Either way, we're going to get the win. And Nathan Fyfe is going to ride off into the sunset with the premiership medal around his neck.
You'll make me cry, mate. That would be beautiful, wouldn't it? Yet again, that might be the longest pod we've ever done. I think that's currently our mark. I don't think we've ever done that before. We've just picked up the win that sends us into September for only the second time in the past decade, the 9th time in our history. And it feels bloody good. As Drew said, we'll be back to unpack or preview the elimination final that will be played Saturday night. Not this Saturday night, but Saturday night after. I hope you're all keen for that. There might be a bit of content out this week. I don't want to leave you all out to dry. I'm sure you're pretty keen to hear us keep talking about Freo, so I'm sure we'll sort something. But Drewz, thanks for joining me again, mate.
Done a great job as usual. Let's go get the flag. September time, baby. The podcast lives to fight, to speak another week. Let's go.
Up the Dockers. We'll see you next time.